I can have your attention in the media center and in the press box, we'll now start our media availability for the post Coors Light Pull Award qualifying for the 59th annual Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. And we're joined by our second place qualifier, Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 NAPA Patriotic Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Chase, you're no stranger to the front row here at Daytona International Speedway. Could you walk us through your final round of qualifying and how the advantage that gives you going into tomorrow?
Yeah, it was. I think our NAPA Chevy is good. I was pretty pleased with it yesterday in our drafting runs, and we qualified really better than we were anticipating, I think, this weekend, which is nice. I think it shows our car has some nice pace to it, out there by itself, which certainly can lend a hand when it comes to racing tomorrow night. So we'll see.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have a question for Chase, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start with Jenna and go to Greg.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Chase, how does it help you for tomorrow that 300 cars are starting in the top 4?
I just think it shows that our cars have some pretty good pace as a whole, as a company. I think that's a big reflection of the engine shop and the power there. I don't know that us starting in the top, 3 of us in the top 5 is all that much of an advantage, but I think the fact that the cars have pace is, and I think there is power in numbers as the race goes on, and especially now as we see the manufacturers, everybody kind of teams up and does all these strategy maneuvers and plays and tries to be really smart. I think there can be advantages in that, just being around your teammates. And if we're all fast, then hopefully we can all be up towards the front together. And if that's the case, and I think that will be helpful, when it comes to making pit stops and coming out, on the racetrack after you get done with pit road and making time and not wasting time and losing time to that main pack. So all that stuff's very important. And if we can all be bunched together during that process, I think that's nice.
Greg Engel, AutoWeek.com. You're obviously used to starting up front here, and you've had some success when it comes to that. But obviously, you've had some issues during the race. Yesterday, you were talking about not being afraid to do whatever it takes, even if it's passing, your teammate on the final lap. How do you balance that against the fact of just wanting to survive with a good finish here, given the past record that you've had? And I'm not digging at you. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't really look at the race any differently than I've looked at the other ones. I mean, I think, with the way if you're talking about just us needing a point race, I think that, sure, there's been a lot of different winners, and I think it's going to be close. I don't know that there's going to be 16 winners. I think there is a possibility of there being, pretty close to it, though. So I think there could only be a few spots left. So if you don't have a win, I do think it is important to have points, to be able to try to take one of those last couple spots that are going to be left, if there are any. If I'm right on that, I don't know, but time will tell. But like I said, I'm not going to approach the race differently or try to points race. I mean, I think down here you kind of take your chances, try to be out front. That's the best place to be if you can get there, position yourself there at the right time. And try to maintain that track position as much of the day as possible. I think that's how these races are won down here more times than not. I think the guys that do it consistently tend to do that more often than not, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Additional questions for Chase? We'll go to Bob, then to Dustin, then to Matt.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Obviously, with this being Dale's last race here at Daytona, such a great track for him, have you noticed him any different this weekend than past Daytonas?
I just heard him on the radio said he might come back for the Clash. Did y'all hear him? I'm gonna go ahead and start that rumor right now. So he MRN just asked, and Chip Wiles giving me a high five in the air, and he said he might talk to the boss and see what he can come up with for the Clash. So you heard it here first. I have seen him a little, I wouldn't say a chip on his shoulder, but I do think he has been very, very determined this weekend on making sure his car is driving exactly like he wants it. He doesn't want it good. He doesn't want it great. He wants it perfect. And I think he's made that very apparent in our post-practice meetings So yes, I think he's very determined to run well here.
Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chase, you talked about positioning, track position. We've seen a lot of times when the leader is able to kind of go back and forth and weave and block, and it's really hard to get around. Has anything changed, or how do you get around the leader?
No, I think you're going to see a lot of that tomorrow night. I mean, that's definitely the package that we're currently running, and until something drastic changes with the aero balance of these cars, I think that's going to be the name of the game. You can do that, and you can have success with it. There's guys that are better at it than others, and those are the guys that you see lead a big majority of laps here throughout our race. But on the same token, there are going to be times where those rows behind you, the energy is formed up at the right time, and they get big runs that you're not going to be able to block, really. There's going to be certain situations when you're out front and guys are going to have such a big run on you that, I mean, I don't care who you are. You pull up in front of them and your day is probably going to be done. So it's a matter of kind of cutting your losses and figuring out what's most important. And if you are going to get past, if you're out front, which lane do you want to be in after that guy gets alongside of you? I think it's more of the game after you get, a guy on the inside or outside of you more than it is whether they get there or not. Because at some point in time, they're going to get a big run, and I think you just have to be ready for that. Yeah, I remember him being, just around the racetrack. I remember, when Dad was racing full time and we were coming to the track every weekend, I remember him just being still very involved. And the biggest thing with him over the years is the guy hadn't changed a bit. I mean, you see him in the garage, he's up over there poking at tires and looking at cars and walking over and seeing what you got in your car and knowing that you're not going to tell him no, so he's going to come over there and check it out anyway. So awesome guy, certainly a great ambassador for our sport. And you don't see many people that have the career he had have that and still come to the racetrack and show the passion he does every weekend, which is pretty cool. So happy birthday to him. 80 years is pretty cool.
Go to Matt, and then we'll go back to Jenna.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. I apologize if this was brought up yesterday. I wasn't here. But it seems like early on in your NASCAR career, you'd really been challenged by plate races, especially here. And now with a win in the Xfinity Series and in the Jewel earlier this year, you seem a lot more comfortable. Is there anything that's just changed, or is that just reps?
I don't think anything has changed other than just having a little more experience with it and kind of, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can't control in these races, and I think everybody kind of feels like, a lot of it's luck, and a lot of it is luck, don't get me wrong, but I think there are a lot of things that you can control in these races that are in your hands that, might be a few, it might take a few instances to find a result, in maybe something that doesn't work out for you that might have happened a few steps back that you need to kind of think back and say, hey, if I hadn't have done that, we might have been in a better position or placed myself in a better spot to try to have a little more success. To me, I think the fact that there has been guys over the past 3 or 4 years win a lot of these races consistently tells me that there is a lot of say in your result, and it is more than just luck. So I'm searching very hard to find that because we do it 4 times a year, and they're important races.
Jenna?
You're going to love this question. So this movie came out before you were born. It's called Days of Thunder. And it came out this week. We thought it was the 25th anniversary. It's the 27th. We had Dale Jr. in here talking about it earlier. What if tomorrow night played out totally Days of Thunder-like, and it was you and Dale Jr. racing for the win in the final lap? How would that go if racing was still like that?
I don't know. Grab 5th gear, 6th gear, then 7th gear and try to pass him? I don't know. In those movies, I feel like they just keep grabbing gears till they pass the guy. So I don't know.
Just don't hit the pace car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, if you go and you beat a guy straight up and you have a good run on him and you're able to pass a guy on the last lap to win the race, I mean, I don't see how you could be a villain for doing your job, at the end of the day. So, I mean, sure, everybody wants Dale to win his last race at Daytona or what might be his last race at Daytona. We'll see. But no, I don't see how I don't see how me trying to go do my job is going to make me a villain. And if people think that, then so be it. But I'm going to go do my thing. And if I have an opportunity to pass a guy and do it the right way, then I'm going to try my best to do it.
Any additional questions for Chase? Go to Godwin, please.
Godwin Kelly with the News Journal. Along those lines, Chase, when they run the season finale at Homestead, it seems like anybody that's not involved in the for the championship, the other guys give them a little bit more room. They don't want to be the guy that knocks somebody out. Is that kind of what's going to happen here tomorrow night?
No, I don't think so. I think it's very different than that. You definitely, when you get to Homestead, there is a sense of respect, I think, for those guys that are the Final Four that are there. I think guys still race them, and then I think the further when you're at Homestead, I think the further you are towards the front, I think the more of a right you have to race for a win. For instance, in the 42's case last year, I think he had a right to race Jimmy for the win, and he did as hard as he could. But no, I think tomorrow night is going to be very every man for himself, for the most part, aside from what strategy you're going to see from pit road and all the stuff that goes on, like I mentioned a minute ago. But no, I don't think it's going to have. I could be wrong. It's not going to be that way for me. But I don't think you're going to see that same tendency from all the guys like you do down there.
Well, Chase, congratulations on the front row starting spot, and good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks.
If I could have your attention here in the Media Center, we'll continue on with today's post-Coors Light Pull Award qualifying for the 59th annual Coke 0400, powered by Coca-Cola. And we are joined by our Coors Light Pull Award winner, Dale Earnhardt Jr., driver of the number 88 Nationwide Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. This is his 14th pull and 612 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series starts.
His
terrible. Second pull.
It's a terrible stat.
Yeah. This is your second pull here.
You could just stop.
Yeah.
There, that's good.
Good.
I'm just messing.
I was going to add on, this is your second pull here at Daytona International Speedway. The last time you won a pull here, you did win the race. And you've automatically qualified now for the 2018 Advanced Auto Parts Clash at Daytona. So I'm going to throw it out there. Boom.
Yeah.
You coming back for that one.
I'll talk to my boss, see what he's got in the shed.
Well, we've got a lot of questions in here in the deadline room. We're going to start with Jenna, go to Hill, and then to Bob.
Hey, Dale, Chase was in here and he said that you're very, in my words, not his, but you're very locked in, and in all the meetings that you want it perfect this weekend. Do you find yourself in a different zone for whatever reason this weekend?
I don't think so. I just know that I need the car a certain way and need the car to do certain things, and we've had one debrief, and I did notice. I did notice in a couple situations in practice some things about the balance of my car I didn't like, so we addressed that and started working on that, and I brought that up to my teammates that I don't think a lot of guys got themselves in situations to really see what their cars would do in traffic. And so I just kind of brought that up as a bit of an alert, to say, hey, look, this thing handling might be a little more critical than we thought. And every time we've been here, the last couple of trips, we've been a bit surprised by how poorly the cars drive as this surface continues to age. And for the longest time after the repave, you didn't worry about handling. It just stuck like glue. But I was a little alarmed in practice by a couple things. We worked on it. I think we fixed them. And so I was telling them, I said, I just got, to be aggressive and be able to, really be aggressive with the wheel and side draft hard and defend your position and make moves and make moves late and quick and surprise people. The car has to handle well. You can't have your hands tied by the car being, real tight, or you just can't create things and make things happen. So That's all I was saying in those meetings with chasing them, is that the car handling wise needs to be perfect to win the race. I mean, to really, if I get a really good handling car that doesn't give me any issues, then I can just think solely about being on the offense and putting together moves or taking opportunities that I see in front of me. So, but I feel great about the car, and we've learned some things. You know, we had our car spinning out on us out of nowhere for a couple of years, and spun out on Chase spun out a couple times, Jimmy spun out a couple times, and Alex spun out at Talladega. I mean, we just couldn't figure out what was going on. So we've worked on our cars real hard to try to get them to handle and drive better, and I'm hoping that we made some big gains there.
We're going to go to your right to Hill and then to Bob.
Yeah, Hill Overton, Dale over to your right. WANDB Radio, congratulations on your poll.
Thank you.
Hendrick Cars in the top 12. You guys had a strong showing, maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people. A little extra potential, a little extra preparation this week. Did you guys do something maybe in the wind tunnel, a little more horsepower out of the engine department? Tell us about what your plans were, what happened.
Well, to be honest with you, it seems like we've been up in the top 3 or 4 at qualifying at Daytona and Talladega for a while, and we've shared the front row a couple times with the 24 car. The 24 car, a lot of times, was the one that we were chasing, whether Jeff was driving it or Chase. And we finally were able to to beat those guys today. But when I go to the super speedways, the 24 bunch is the guys that I sort of look at as the ones to beat for the pole. And that sustains success by that team alone, I think, drives the rest of the company. And what Alan and those guys are able to accomplish when they come to Daytona and Talladega for just qualifying has driven our team to be better, and you know, that's proved today. So I'm not surprised by the Hendrick speed. I hope they're always finding more. I don't really know if anything in particular that we've done, but they're always tuning in on the bodies and the motors. You have to. I mean, what we can't, you know, what worked last year isn't even competitive in this day and age with the cars and engineers learning so much.
We're going to go to Bob, then to Claire, then to Dustin, and then up to the press box.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Do you feel more pressure this weekend? You've said you pretty much need a win to make the playoffs. A lot of people view this as your best chance.
Yeah. Well, it's a great opportunity. You know, I think that I'll try to look at it as just a good opportunity to go out there and get a win. And I know what I need to do on the racetrack, and I'll try to go out there and do that and do the best I can, and drive the race that I need to drive, and hopefully that has me in position late in the race, and hopefully, I mean, there's so many good, talented cars and talented drivers. Hopefully, we can get the job done. There's a lot of things to do still before we see the checker flag. There's a lot of work to do. But I don't know that I'm feeling any more pressure than we typically feel when we come to Daytona. We always seem to be in the conversation when we show up about being one of the guys that's a favorite or a contender, and that's always been the case when we come here. So I've always kind of had a little bit of that to deal with, so I don't think it makes me feel any different about this weekend.
Go next to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Chase told me that as good of a racer that you are, you're an even better friend. And he said that he looks up to you and that, you know, he's learned a lot from you. You know, he feels pretty strongly about what you've, you know, been to him. So I envision at the start of the race, you two will look at each other and kind of eyeball each other. And the greatest thing ever is you two, you the veteran and he the young guy coming up, you know, going at it to take off this race. How do you see racing him, what he's got and what you've had over the years?
Well, we had a chance to work with him at Junior Motorsports, you know, and he won us a championship. So I'll be grateful to him for that for a long time because of what it did for our company and all our employees. On top of that, aside from just being successful and talented, he's his daddy did a good job. His mom and daddy did a good job raising him. He's well-spoken. He's polite. He's got a great work ethic. He's very focused about his driving and his racing, and he puts in the work. I think that, he's everything you could ask for in a driver and a teammate, and he's as young as he is. He's just going to continue over the years, not only to get better and more talented, but to sort of, pick up a lot of other things too that make you great in and outside the car. So, he also has Jimmy to be around, which is an incredible person to learn from. So he's really in a great situation he's got a great owner. I think he's got great teammates and an awesome crew chief. He's just in a really nice situation to grow and improve. But he already had a great foundation before he got to the Cup level as far as his personality and he knew exactly what he was getting himself into, having grown up around this and been around this so long. He knew, he's nothing really surprises him or shocks him. There's not a situation that pops up where he's unaware of, and so that just comes from growing up around it, and it's a good advantage for him to have. But he's been a pleasure. We've got along great, and there's he's much younger than I am, but we get along great, and he still likes to live in Georgia, which I find kind of odd, but I would but that's where he wants to be, and he flies his little helicopter up to Hendrick. Did he tell y'all about that? Good Lord. So he has this helicopter. It looks like a Chips helicopter, a little bubble, little glass ball flying through there. And that blows me away that he has the confidence and composure to just jump in that thing and go. And that to me says a lot about him and his character. And he just jumps in that thing and flies. I'll be at the meeting. I'll see you tomorrow. And he flies up from Georgia in his helicopter and comes to the meeting, and we'll have the meeting, and he'll go run 4 miles around the shop and come back, and he just plugged in. But I think that his dad there's a side of Bill that I really didn't learn about until much later in his career. Whereas like Bill goes out to skiing, and he's a bit of he kind of thrill seeker, I guess, or he has this competitive nature that still burns inside of him. He's just went to Indy and raced with Ray and that deal. So, and I see that in Chase too. He's just he ain't scared to learn how to fly a helicopter. I mean, who does that at that age? Like, I'm gonna get my pilot's license. I'm gonna fly my helicopter so I can live in Georgia. I just don't. I was not thinking about those things at that age. It's just so impressive. So to me, that says a lot of that says a lot about him to me.
We're going to go Dustin, then to the press box, and then to Dinah.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Dale, some people suggest that this weekend is your last true best shot to win and make the playoffs. What do you say to them?
Well, I don't have a whole lot to back up that argument to go against that argument, I guess. I don't have a whole lot of statistics to show you. And I don't think I've done much on the racetrack in the past several weeks that would change your opinion or anyone else's opinion if they had that. But with with Greg and my team, I'm confident in them that we could show up anywhere and surprise everybody. And if we don't, happen to come out of here and win this race, the urgency will pick up. as it would as every week goes by. But my confidence in our ability to get a win, I mean, we can go to Pocono and win. We can go to Michigan and win. I don't see why we couldn't go to those places and win. We were pretty competitive at both of those tracks, just to name a couple. But it's definitely going to, we are running out of time, and I'm aware of that. But I still feel like that, yeah, this is probably our best shot to win, but we can win at other racetracks. We got that ability to do that. It's been a very frustrating, tough year statistically, but what I see in my team gives me the confidence and the belief that we can still get a win at one of these tracks before we get to the chase.
Press box, we'll go to you next. Hello, press box. Okay, we'll come back downstairs to Dinah.
Hi, Dale. Dinah Pulver with the Daytona Beach News Journal. I did a little analysis this week of the penalties thus far across the three series this season, and Hendrick Motorsports or JR Motorsports has absolutely 0 lug nut penalties, while a lot of other teams have had a lot of lug nut penalties. Why is that?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm superstitious. Why is that? I mean, I think that we've been fortunate. There is a human error side to that you can't escape, and I know a lot of teams have been caught with that. So I'd say that we have a lot of good, talented guys, and we've also been very fortunate. But it could happen to anyone any given weekend because it's the competition on pit road has gotten so tight, and those guys can't make mistakes, but sometimes you're going to have those. But so far we've been fortunate. I would just chalk it up to I know that those guys want some credit for being talented, and I want to give it to them for sure. But there's a little bit of fate and luck into that too.
We'll go to George, then to Holly.
Yeah, Dale, back here. George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Congratulations on the pole. And obviously for you, there's a lot of sentimental stuff going on, but, there's another guy here who's a little bit of a sentimental journey with Richard Petty turning 80. Can you reflect on him and his career and what, he's meant to you? And also, if you have any stories that you remember from, days with your dad and Richard.
Yeah, I don't have any that pop into my mind. When he won, I was here when he won 200, and was in that tent when we ate fried chicken with the president. And boy, that was a cool experience. And in my mind, we have Richard Petty to thank for that. I have Richard Petty to thank for that experience. It just seemed like all that was lined up in destiny, for Richard to win. The president was there. We had this post-race sort of picnic that never happens, right? And it was incredible. It was a really interesting experience. And I remember my father sort of, being like, set up straight, mind your manners, just that he was, even though he didn't win the race, usually he's very grumpy after the races and that he doesn't win. But the race was farthest thing from his mind at that moment because it was important for him in that moment to celebrate the president's being there and Richard winning and all that. I remember that a lot. I think about that a lot. But I never talked to Richard much. I had some conversations with Kyle off and on over the years. But then when I started working with Goodies, I got to shoot some commercials with Richard and actually talk to him and be around him. And he has a great personality, and he's very approachable, obviously. Easy to talk to, doesn't shy away from conversation. He gets approached and talked to all the time, every day, every minute, it seems. But he's always open to that and accepting that, and I think that he's he's the reason why the sport's really like it is. Why they talk about drivers are so accessible, and we have people from other sports or particularly from other sports come to our races and go, wow, I can't believe how the fans are right here, right on the race, down at the race, and the fans can get everywhere you go. There's fans, and I think that's because of guys like Richard. If it's not solely Richard's credit, it's because of people like him that started it out like that. He set the standard for how the drivers interact with the fans that we all sort of follow. So he should get a lot of credit for when people say NASCAR is accessible. Richard Petty should be in that conversation of why and how, and so I think that he deserves that. But again, I got to talk to him and get to know him a little bit over the last couple of months working with the Goodies folks over the past couple of years, actually. And then when I got hurt last year, see, Richard would always come up and say, hey, how you doing? But then when I got hurt, he would come up and grab me and put his arm around me, and we'd have a conversation. And he would say, are you doing what you need to do? Are you taking care of yourself? Don't do anything you don't need to do. Make sure you're doing all right. I want to make sure you're doing all right. He's genuinely concerned, which meant a lot to me because, I knew he showed he cared about me. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Considering all the things he has to deal with and all the people he has to deal with, that meant a lot to me.
Holly?
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. I know it's been a little while since you won a pole or won a race, but what you did here today, the love of the fans, I mean, how aware are you of how happy this made them? I mean, it's very, very rare that you can hear an applause like you did today on pit road after you crossed the finish line.
Well, that's great. We haven't had a lot to be happy about on the racetrack this year. We haven't had a whole lot to celebrate. And as a driver, and I think as a team, you feel responsible to deliver. The fans have expectations. You have expectations of yourself and what you should be able to accomplish on the racetrack, and you feel that responsibility to deliver. They come to the racetrack to see you lead and run up front, and when they don't, I mean, you can feel the frustration coming through Twitter and social media after the races where you're not a factor, and they want it. They want you to be up there. Why aren't you up there? I came to the race to see you run up there. Get up there. And so I know that's evident to me and follows you around everywhere every week. So and it's a responsibility. I think that it's I'm supposed to get up there and do it. They think I can do it. I think I can do it. So, but not to get too far off base. It feels good to give them something to cheer about. And hopefully that gets them excited for tomorrow. Hopefully folks are tuning in and we get a great race. And hopefully we're part of the celebration at the end. Hopefully we're at least part of the the excitement at the finish.
Dale, our questions from the press box, twofold. One, Tony Stewart used to be your favorite drafting partner. Who is it now? Who do you trust to take you to the finish line? And the second part of that question, you practiced here in the day. Are you confident that kind of balance is going to carry over to the night?
I'm hoping that in the daytime the track's hotter. In the race the track's going to cool off. Any kind of real issues you have in the sun are going to calm down a little bit at night. So I'm hoping that what I felt and didn't like about the car we either fixed or as the track cools off and we run later tomorrow night, they're less evident and not much of a factor. There's kind of two sides to that. You want the track and you want handling to be very critical. You want guys to not have good handling cars, but you want your car to handle great. You don't want everybody to have all the grip in the world. That's not going to be a lot of fun. But you want the track to be slick, but you want your car to drive the way you need it. And so, that's asking a lot, but the track's heading in that direction. So, what was the other question?
Who are you gonna trust to draft with tomorrow night?
Partner? I don't know. Whoever wants to push us to the win tomorrow, be my best friend. I'll invite him over to the pool Sunday.
Good deal. we'll finish here with Al.
Hey, Dale, Al Pierce from Auto Week. A non-NASCAR question for a second. I looked at a replay today of the '99 IROC race at Michigan. It looked like you were as happy to finish second as your dad was to win. Was that a big day for you and him? Do you remember the details of that deal?
I wasn't. Okay, so my emotions after that day, I was mad at Rusty because Rusty, I had a run on Dad I got to the outside of him and side drafted him, and I was ahead of him when we come off of turn 4, and I was kind of moving by. He doored me, which stopped my momentum and basically put both of our cars at a standstill. Rusty, y'all know the history between Dad and Rusty. They were friends, but kind of rubbed each other the wrong way and always, kind of digging at each other and very competitive on and off the track. If one bought a plane, the other bought a plane. If one did this, the other did this. Well, this was Rusty's chance. All he had to do is get in behind me. I was already leading my dad by a half a fender. If Rusty tucks in behind me, he quarter panels, side drafts Dad, and I win the race. But Rusty went down behind Dad, got Dad moving again, so Dad's kind of going back by me, and Dad ends up winning the race. And I'm thinking, man, if I'm Rusty, that was his opportunity to really rub it in. And so I don't know why Rusty did that. I don't want to know. But I was frustrated because I thought I had him, and how awesome would that have been to beat your dad in equal cars? I'm thinking, man, here was my shot. So I went to victory lane, and if I looked happy, it was because I probably was expecting Dad to admit some level of defeat, or at least acknowledge how close I came to beating him, but he never did. And he was like, how about that? I won. And I'm like, damn, you almost lost. You ain't going to even mention how close I came to beating you? He would not give me any satisfaction. But that, to me, I mean, it's, you watch a lot of race. I'm guilty of watching, my own wins and, memories and stuff. It's fun. I watch that one quite a bit. There's a video on YouTube. It's like the last 5 laps. I watch it quite a bit because I know I'm not going to win, but just how close I came to beating him that day. And I was just in Xfinity Series. I didn't have a ton of. I still kind of raw as a driver, but man, and the whole race, he's sitting there like giving me his hand signals: stay behind him, stay in line, stay behind him, stay in line. And he told me before the race, he said, if you stay in line, we can win this. I'm like, we? I'm like, how do we win? And so, and I was like, I don't even know how. I didn't know that. I'm like, I don't buy that. I'm not, me stay in line, we're not going to get past, or what? How's that going to help me or you? But he was right. I stayed behind him the whole race, and he was worried every lap, waving down the straightaway because he knew I was antsy to try to pass him. And I'm thinking, man, I did it just right. I waited till the very end. I got more tire than he's got. He's out here wore out, and I had him set up just perfectly. And all I needed was just a little help from Rusty. And I don't know whether he knew he was going to help Dad or what, but he helped Daddy get back by me. God. But I still, I wasn't like, I was thinking, man, I'm going to go to Victory Lane, and he's going to be like, damn, man, you beat me. But that's not, that just wasn't in his nature.
Well, Dale, we're going to see how many people will actually tweet out that YouTube link so we can watch that highlight tonight.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck tomorrow.
See y'all later.
Yep.
I don't think so.